Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel, and today we're going to chat about the only thing I want to chat about. One of the biggest talking points in all the wrestling world right now, and that is WWE Monday Night Raw moving to Netflix last night, January 6th, 2025. Thank God January 6th has something good attached to it now. And I just figured I would sit down and give you my little review of it. I talked about this, I think, last year was Saturday Night's Main Event, where I'm just going to talk about it. I'm not going to sit here and rate everything or walk through every match. I'll walk through bits and points I want to talk about. This will be the new format when I decide to review wrestling things. This isn't a sign of things to come. I'm not going to review every single Raw on Netflix. I didn't review the first SmackDown. That was 3 hours. I didn't review the first Dynamite on Max. But the first Raw on Netflix seemed like a big enough deal, and oh boy was it. Just a heads up for some of you out there, I am a very positive person. There's going to be a lot of things that happened on Raw, -1, that I liked, that a lot of people didn't, and that's fine. That's the point of pro wrestling. It's subjective. It's supposed to be fun. If you absolutely couldn't stand one thing, I might have absolutely loved it, or vice versa. So I'm going to go through the big stuff. I caught up kind of late, so I missed little interviews like the interview with The Miz, the announcement of the street fight, which, I mean, they talked about later in the show, but I missed the actual interview, the first interview with the New Day, which was hilarious. I did go back and watch that. But it kicked off. There was 4 massive curtains, really, hanging on each side of the ring, and they played a video of all the classic moments over, like, all of wrestling. A lot of the USA moments, and when the video ended, it, like, rewound all the way to the beginning. Curtains fell. Triple H. He said, "Are you ready?" Got everybody hyped up. I was kind of hoping he would say, "Are you effing ready?" I'm trying to scale back swearing in 2025. We'll see how that works. But he didn't, obviously. But he just welcomed us to Netflix, did his Triple H thing that he does nowadays, which, you know, I really like. Sorry if I'm crooked. I don't. Anyway, it was a fun enough start. I mean, what else did you expect? I thought we were going to come into the crowd, and then Triple H was going to come out and do his whole thing, but he was just behind massive curtains. And then The Rock came out. I mean, it really felt like it was the 90s, because Triple H comes out, cuts a promo, and then The Rock comes out and cuts a promo. This is the first thing that people really didn't like, and that was the what The Rock did. Now, I've not going to say that I agree with what he did, with the direction they went with this, but I kind of understand it to a certain point, because it was more like Dwayne Johnson than it was The Rock. This wasn't the final boss, which I know breaks kayfabe. It's 2025. Nobody uses the word kayfabe anymore. But for me personally, I just had a good time. You know, I love seeing The Rock. I always love seeing The Rock. And I get that it kind of ruins everything we did in 2024 when he was the final boss and he tried to murder Cody Rhodes, tried to take away Cody Rhodes' moment, had that real weird Raw for WrestleMania segment where he wanted to hold the belt. And then he comes out on Raw. He cuts a, hey, it's Monday Night Raw on Netflix, woo, promo, does the finally speech. Then he acknowledges Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, which was, of course, really weird because last time we saw The Rock, last 2 times we saw him, he whispered something to Cody Rhodes, and then he came out at Bad Blood, did this, counted down to 1 or 0, and left. That was it. So it was really strange. He made a joke about Mama Rhodes, which is the funniest thing because, remember, he wanted to give Cody Rhodes' mother a weight belt covered in Cody Rhodes' blood. And now him and Cody are just, it's just so funny. I didn't think about it at the time because I was just hype, like super hype, like I was 12 years old watching Monday Night Raw all over again. But it was, sorry, my daughter. It was really funny if you think about it. And he hugged Cody Rhodes and then he effed off. And I was like, that's it? That's all we're doing? But I really thought it was a very good start to the show. I mean, what else was WWE going to do, right? And then we got to Tribal Combat. I was like, there's no way we're starting with Tribal Combat. But we did. So it was Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, Tribal Combat, Ula Fala, Tribal Chief, Paul Heyman, blah, 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 blah. All of that took place, which kind of made sense to me. Like when the match first started, I was like, what else are we going to stutter? What else were they going to start with? You've got to draw in the fans. And this show is clearly supposed to be catered to everybody. New fans, lapsed fans, and casual fans. And I'll explain, you'll see as I'm talking about it, because like this match was for the casual fans, us, the people that have been watching WWE consistently. Maybe casual is the wrong word, but you know, the regular viewer. We're all looking forward to this match. We all really wanted Roman Reigns, the OTC. Some people like Solo Sikoa. He's a good character, but we were there. But then the lapsed fans, they were there to watch Triple H and The Rock. And then The Rock interacted with Cody Rhodes and said, hey, Cody Rhodes, good job. I love you, Mama Rhodes. So now people are like, Cody Rhodes? Who is that? And they probably recognize his last name. And they might know who he is, but that's, again, the new fan. People who never watch wrestling. My boss, he might have watched it last night just because it was on Netflix. And he might be like, I don't know who these people are, but I'm interested. Which is why I think they started with Tribal Combat. I know it sounded like I just kind of went off on a tangent, but I'm tying it all in. If these new fans, these lapsed fans, have been watching and decide to stay for Tribal Combat, it's a plunder brawl. You see Paul Heyman. Everyone knows who Paul Heyman is. And it was really good. Like, the match overall was really good. It was a match of 2 parts, just like the Tribal Combat match at WrestleMania. Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns always have good chemistry. I can't come up with anything crazy off the top of my head. The announce table was used in pretty much every single match on the show, which 3-hour show, 4 matches. We'll talk about it. But then there was there were kendo sticks. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa did one of my favorite spots of all wrestling, where he grabbed the top half of the steel steps and just yeet them into somebody's face. There was a bunch of steel chairs, spinning Solo on the announce table, spinning Solo on some chairs. There were spears, there were spikes, there were Superman punches, blah, blah, blah. You know, they hit all the big moves. Everybody kicked it out at 2, and everyone went, oh. And then the second half happened. You know, Tonga Loa comes out, or Tama Tonga. Tonga Loa is the one that's injured. He came out, screwed Roman Reigns. I can't remember exactly what he did. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been very busy today. But he came out, he beat up Roman Reigns or stopped him. Jacob Fatu, he hit his moonsault. 1, 2, 2. Then Solo Sikoa spikes the referee. I was almost in tears. I thought I laughed so hard. I was like, oh God, they're attacking the referees. And speaking of the referees, there's no more zebras. They're wearing like gray work shirts with the new scratch logo, the new WWE logo on it. It's going to take some getting used to. I'm used to the zebras. But anyway, he spikes the referee. And then here comes Jimmy Uso and Sami Zayn, which I knew it wasn't Jay. I was so confused for a second. I'm like, shouldn't that be Jay? But I'm like, oh, well, Jay does have a match with Drew, so Sami had to get Jimmy. And I'm like, well, they're twins. They used to look like exactly alike. But now they, have their own auras, I guess. Pardon me. They come out, big brawl, and then Sami and Jimmy and Roman all beat up Solo. 1, 2, ooh, kick out, blah, blah, blah. The part that surprised me, and by far, in my opinion, the most surprising part of the show, because I never saw this coming, was that Roman was going for another spear, and Kevin Owens pops up from out of nowhere, hits him with a stunner. I bought that as the finish for a brief second. I don't know why. I mean, come on now, think about it. But of course, Roman kicked out. Then Cody Rhodes comes out while Kevin goes for the package pile driver again. This is why I love wrestling. That move killed Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton hasn't been seen since he got hit with a regular pile driver. And Kevin Owens like, I'm just going to do it again. Cody and Kevin go fight off into the crowd, I think it was. Roman and Solo fight for a few minutes. Spear. 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns is the tribal chief. Gets to Ulafala. It was supposed to be Paul Heyman that put it on him. The Rock walks out. No music, just walks to the ring. Takes the Ulafala. Puts it on Roman Reigns and hugs him. Very anticlimactic ending, in my opinion. I will admit that's one of the things people are a little upset about, because they expected The Rock to attack Roman or something to happen, but instead it was more just a ceremony for Roman. And now Roman and Solo, they're usually SmackDown stars, so everyone's supposed to walk away going, man, I gotta watch SmackDown, because Solo said he would acknowledge Roman Reigns. I don't think Solo is gonna do that as well as he says he is. I don't want to get too much into it. Either he is going to do it, and Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga are going to kill him, or he's going to refuse. It's one or the other for sure. No sponsors. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go beat by beat, but I tried to give you some of the highlights. Really good match. Like I said, there were some good weapon spots for sure, but in the end, it was what it was. I think there was also Maybe a power bomb through a table I might have missed out on. But all that happens. You've had Triple H, you've had The Rock, you have this huge Tribal Combat match, and then John Cena comes out. You can ask my wife. I collapsed on my couch. I was just like, I can't. This is too much. This is too much for me. Super short version, he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. He cut an awesome promo about LA getting, popping the fans. Huge pep. And he talked about how everyone's talking about my opponents throughout the year. Am I going to wrestle Cody Rhodes? Am I going to wrestle Drew McIntyre? Am I going to wrestle Logan Paul? People really don't want to see John Cena versus Logan Paul. I do. Please give me John Cena versus Logan Paul. He also mentioned CM Punk, which is like the only match I want out of John Cena's retirement tour. If he wrestles once and just wrestles CM Punk, I'd be happy. But he ended it by being cheeky, going, man, I don't want a 17th title run. It's not going to happen. I'm on a losing streak. I'd have to be Mr. Money in the Bank. I'd have to win the Elimination Chamber. I'd have to win the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble's coming up. It was classic John Cena. He just gets you going. He makes you believe. He makes you smile. He's way up there now. He's that guy. And we'll talk about somebody who is not that guy here a little bit later. But yeah, that's all that was. He just more or less took up some time to let you know that he's going to be in the Rumble. I don't know if he's going to win it or not. I've heard some people say, why would he be in it if he's not going to win it? Like, why not just go for it? He wins the Rumble, he wins the title. Maybe that's what they do. I think someone will throw him out, or he'll throw out someone that'll be really mad about it. I think that's the direction we're going to go for WrestleMania. Again, I don't know why people don't want Logan Paul. I do know why people don't want Logan Paul. But Logan Paul is a really good wrestler and a fantastic character. Imagine John Cena brings back the Dr. Thuganomics one last time and does a rap on Logan Paul. That's all I'm saying. So I believe we moved on directly from that. All of that happened already. And we moved on to... Let me move the camera a little. Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. This one's pretty simple. I don't want to speed through any of these matches. But Rhea Ripley won. That's what I am going to say. That's, easiest way to tell you is that she won. It was one of their better matches. They had some really good matches last year, but this one just felt better. A lot of really good near falls. We had the Oblivion on the steel chair at one point again, which is how she beat Io Sky. Rhea kicked out. Liv kicks out of a Riptide. I almost said Oblivion again. Like, just kicked out of a Riptide. No interference. No putting her leg on the bottom rope. It was too far away from the ropes for that. Riptide 1-2 kick out, which shows how much Liv's character has grown. Rhea took out Raquel pretty early on. There was just a lot of shenanigans all over the place. But eventually Rhea Ripley just got tired of it and hit 2 more Riptides. 1, 2, 3, brand new women's champion. I don't mean to sound so nonchalant. It's obviously so exciting. Rhea never lost the title in the first place. She had to vacate it. And she was already one of the biggest stars in WWE, period. Not just in the women's division, period. And now she's women's champion again and has the opportunity to become an even bigger star, which is insane. Like, imagine Cody Rhodes became a bigger star. It's the same concept in my opinion. That's how high up most people think of Rhea Ripley. Again, huge pop, great match. After she won, Dominic was like, oh, we're friends again. Let me give you a hug. She kicked him right in the balls, gave him a Riptide, which just felt good. It felt good. Dominic got the Riptide. Which again, going back to what I was talking about Lapsed fans, if Lapsed fans don't know who Dominic is, Michael Cole described it. He's like, if you don't know who this is Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio's son. Michael Cole was on it last night, making sure people knew what was going on. Because I'm sure Triple H knew that Lapsed fans or new fans were going to tune in, because it's Netflix. People that love Netflix are going to be like, what's this on Netflix? And Lapsed fans are going to be like, man, let me check this Netflix thing out. Let me check out WWE for the first time in forever or however long. So that was cool. And speaking of Lapsed fans, this didn't make any sense, but I'm so happy it happened because I'm a mark, even though my name is Jared. Rhea Ripley got to the top of the stage. She turned around. She said, Mommy's always on top. She did a victory screech, and the Undertaker's gong hit. The gong hits a second time. American Badass starts. Horrible song. Horrible artist. Kid Rock sucks. But The Undertaker comes out, drives around the ring on his motorcycle, drives up to Rhea Ripley. They both do the arm raise, which I popped huge for because I'm such a big fan of Rhea Ripley, and The Undertaker's my all-time favorite. And then they both just left. He was just giving to Rhea Ripley. He was just basically just letting people know that he approves of her and that you should like her. He likes her. They're both badasses. It was a whole thing. It was cool. In the long run, doesn't make any sense. The Undertaker retired, and then he showed up at WrestleMania last year to chokeslam The Rock, and then he shows up at Raw on Netflix to go vroom vroom, arm up with Rhea Ripley. So, but it was cool. Like I said, Lapsed fans or new fans, more Lapsed fans, if they watched that match and they were like, "Oh, that was good. I like Rhea Ripley," and they were just like not paying attention, and then they heard the gong and they would have paid attention. But a really good match. It was good seeing The Undertaker, as always. And then there's been a lot of funny stuff on this Raw, and there's more funny things to come, in my opinion. But by far, maybe one of the funniest things I've ever seen on Monday Night Raw is one of Travis Scott's songs played. Because Travis Scott was in the building, and he came out, and I am 99.99% sure he smoked a blunt live on Raw and then came to the ring with Jey Uso. It was hilarious. I was like, there's no way, but there is a way. But that meant it was time for Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. Jey attacked Drew during his entrance. These two have great chemistry. I'm pretty sure this is the first time they've had a one-on-one match, from what I understand. I'm trying to think. I can't off the top of my head. I feel like they should have wrestled before, but other reviews and other people are saying it was the first time for them. But it was really good. I can't tell you much. There were a few surprise, like super kicks, more table usage, more abuse of the announce table. It was just Drew and Jey at their best. You know, Drew being the super strong, really big heel, and Jey just having a ton of fun. And the ending was awesome. Drew hit a Claymore. Jey kicked out. Drew gets up. I'm sorry, I don't remember what I said, but if I didn't say it already, Drew hits one Claymore. I think Jey kicks out. Drew goes for another Claymore, or sets up for one, and Jey just falls over like he's knocked out. Drew walks around. He poses a bunch. He sets up for another Claymore. He misses. Jey ducks as if he regained, like he came back to consciousness. Lost my train of thought. Drew misses. Jey not pops back up, but Drew falls on the floor. Jey catches him in a crucifix roll up, 1, 2, 3, and leaves. I really like that finish. Some people didn't. Some people don't like roll up finishes. They happen. It's pro wrestling. But I like the way this went down. Other people also say Drew shouldn't have won, or Drew shouldn't have lost. I disagree. Drew's been on a tear, and I get that you want him to stay on a tear, but eventually, as a heel, he has to get his. And also, I think it makes Drew still look really strong because Jey was out, but because Drew got too cocky, he missed one, and Jey got lucky, more or less. So there's more of a chance of a rematch where Drew's probably going to be much angrier. He'll probably get his win back, or Jey will get a proper win with some super kicks and some Uso splashes, maybe a spear. He hit a spear at one point, didn't do anything. But it was an overall good match. Nothing too crazy to talk about before or after. Like I said, Jey attacked him during his entrance with a dive. But yeah, overall, really good. I enjoyed seeing it. I don't remember exactly when this happened, and I apologize because I'm going to have some of this out of order. Like I said, I don't have anything written down. But we got that Circle Slash promo we've gotten for the last few weeks. Last week, it culminated into a mask. This week, it culminated into a mask that straight up said Penta on it. Pentagon Jr., Penta El Zero Miedo, whatever the frick you want to call him. Penta is one of my favorite wrestlers in the entire world. I've loved him since I first discovered him in Lucha Underground. Deep Cut, if you even know what that is. And of course, I followed him everywhere else, including AEW, and I'm so excited for him to debut. Well, when's he going to debut, JT? Next week. It didn't say that, but Chad Gable and the Alpha Academy, or not the Alpha Academy, American Made, excuse me, interrupted Adam Pearce trying to be interviewed after he was talking to Bayley. I would love to see Bayley on Raw. because they got that transfer window going on. But he comes in and he's like, I want to prove that I can take out anybody and that I'm not afraid of luchadors. You find me the best luchador you can. And Adam Pearce was like, I think I got the perfect guy. So it's going to be Penta versus Chad Gable next week, which is going to rule. That match is going to be a match of the year candidate. I promise you. Chad Gable is way too good. Penta is way too good. I don't know when we're supposed to get this match. Rey Mysterio against the New Day. Rey with a partner of his choice. That's when I thought Penta was going to debut, was during that match last night, but it never happened. The New Day, apparently, they were like, oh, we don't want to wrestle in LA. Screw that. So they're such good heels. And then I mentioned that there was one more really funny thing that happened that might be the funniest thing that I've ever seen. The other thing I mentioned was pretty good, but this was just great. We were sitting around, camera doing its thing, which I haven't mentioned this yet, but the presentation of this version of Raw couldn't be better. The camera cuts are perfect. The way the stage looks, it looks kind of old school while also being kind of new school. And there is a drone that I will never shut up about. I brought it up probably 100 times during Raw. But, well, it was one of those, you heard her, if you didn't hear her, she said, yep. But it was one of those moments where it was silent. No, the lights didn't go out or nothing, just silence, because you knew something was going to happen. And then Real American started playing, and Hulk Hogan was booed out of Los Angeles. I was having the time of my life. And he tried. He came out, and he said, well, let me tell you something, brother, which usually gets the crowd going. There were cheers. Don't get me wrong. It's Hulk Hogan. If Vince McMahon music had hit, people would have cheered him. It happens. People can't see past the badness. But he came out with skin hanging off of him. He's so damn old. With Jimmy Hart, who was probably just happy to be on TV. And he tried to cut this promo about his tag team partners. He mentioned Macho Man Randy Savage. Everybody booed. He mentioned Andre the Giant, probably the greatest star in the history of pro wrestling. Everyone knows who Andre the Giant is. He got booed. Fans would not stop booing him. And then he made the whole tag team thing was like, oh, the greatest tag team of all time is WWE and Netflix, brother. Just boo after boo after boo. He tore his Real American beer shirt off, which I'm sure tastes like piss. Just straight up piss. And it revealed the Raw is Netflix shirt. He tried to push his beer. I mean, it was just... If you're like me and you're sick to death of Hulk Hogan for a multitude of reasons, you were very, very satisfied by the end of that. And you could tell he walked off not happy. Hopefully Triple H and WWE have learned their lesson. The last time we saw him, I think, was at Raw 30 last year. And that was mixed reactions, but this wasn't mixed. This was just boo, and they were not saying boo earns. And now we move on to the main event. I said this video might be 20 minutes long when I told my wife I was going to make it. We're at 23 now. But like I said, I want to cover as much as I can and tell you how I feel about it. Let me rephrase what I said a minute ago about Hulk Hogan. Let me quote the Iron Sheik. And let me break my New Year's resolution very, very briefly. Fuck Hulk Hogan. Now, the main event, on the other hand, I might talk about for 100 years. Because it was Seth freaking Rollins taking on CM Punk. And I just have all the good things in the world to say about this. I would give them an award. I would give them 5 stars. I would give them 6 stars in the Tokyo Dome. I would hand them whatever their favorite chocolate is, whatever their favorite soup is. I would give them both a brand new puppy. I don't care. Seth Rollins has been my favorite WWE superstar for a very long time. And by very long, I mean probably about 6 years now. Whenever he was, right before he started feuding with Bray Wyatt, I started to really like him, and he just stayed at the top. Just my favorite WWE guy. But I've been a CM Punk fan my entire life. I will never not be a CM Punk fan. Do I agree with some of the things he's done in the past? Hell no. Absolutely not. But I will always love CM Punk. So this match was so special to me. I was so excited. I had no pick. I didn't care who won. Who won, you ask? CM Punk. The match was really good start to finish. They started with brawling. Punk did a dive at one point, which was really cool. They brawled on the floor. Seth kept telling the referee, you need to let us go. Don't count us out. Don't disqualify us. They brawled into the crowd. They brawled by the announce table. Shocker. There was so much to this match. And I told my wife this. I keep bringing her up because she watched it with me. She's not the biggest wrestling fan in the world. but she knew how big this was, so she watched it with me. And I kept telling her, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these punches and kicks aren't pulled. They're just hitting and kicking each other. And you could tell that a few times they were, but I don't think they did it without consent. I'm pretty sure they talked to each other and they're like, look, we're professionals, but I don't like you very much, so I might. And they probably just were like, cool, whatever. There were some really good, like, spots, I guess. I'm sorry. I usually pause when I'm dealing with my daughter, but I didn't that time. There were some really good spots. Like I said, I won't remember everything. There was a top rope swinging neck breaker from Punk to Rollins that I thought looked amazing. It looked just really well done. They became The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Seth hit the GTS on Punk. Punk rolls to the outside. Seth goes to get him, rolls him in the ring. Seth gets in the ring. Punk hits him with the stomp. 1-2, kick out. Seth hits another GTS. 1-2, kick out. Just all brilliant. But it was, once again, the finish. The finish. I mentioned the finish of Drew and Jay. This finish was by far the best one of the night. One of the best finishes I have seen in a long time. Seth goes for his superplex Falcon Arrow combo, which it's one of my favorite things. I love the Falcon Arrow. He hits the superplex, gets up, Punk reverses him into the GTS, kind of knocks Rollins loopy. Punk falls to his knees. Rollins kind of bounces off the ropes, lands on Punk's shoulders. Punk struggles a little bit, which, for the record, doesn't mean he's an exhausted old man. I'm sick to death of the internet. I am this close to just killing all of my social media. You all are stupid. Plain and simple. He had just wrestled a long match against one of the best wrestlers in the world. What do you want him to do? Act like Will Ospreay and pop him and go, wee? I love Will Ospreay. I'm just saying. Wrestling fans are the worst. Because if he had done that, you'd have complained about that. But since he decided to sell for Seth Rollins and kind of had a hard time getting up, you're yelling at him for being old. Anyway, now that my rant is over, he did get back up with Seth on his shoulders, hit a second GTS, 1, 2, 3. Just a really good match. I think we'll be talking about it. I mentioned Match of the Year earlier with Penta and Chad. We'll be saying the same thing from this match. I guarantee you. November, December is going to roll around, and people can be like, Match of the Year. Hey, remember Punk and Rollins from Monday Night Raw on Netflix, the first show in January? It's going to be talked about for a long time, and I'm so sure it's not going to be the only match. I didn't watch the whole Raw post show, but I did watch the clip where somebody asked him, are you, I think it might have been Chris Van Vliet. They asked him, are you done with Seth, or do you see something in the future? And he goes, I really wish I could say I was done with Seth Rollins. So they're going to have another match. Maybe it'll be at Mania. Maybe it'll be at the Rumble. Maybe it'll be even further. Maybe it'll be after WrestleMania, one of their later shows in the year, like SummerSlam and stuff like that. Overall, I think it was an awesome episode of Raw. I think WWE and pro wrestling in general is off to a major, great start. The New Japan shows were great. Wrestle Dynasty was absolutely brilliant, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Kenny Omega is back. The first Dynamite, amazing. The first 3-hour SmackDown, really good for a 3-hour show. It didn't feel like it drug on. And then Monday Night Raw on Netflix. And tonight we got NXT's New Year's Evil show, and The Rock's going to be there. I think 2025 is going to prove to be one of the best years in wrestling history. We've got way too much going for it. All the companies, all the wrestlers, there's too much going on. And Monday Night Raw really cemented that last night. Now, I know, again, 4 matches, 3-hour show, tons of segments. You got Hulk Hogan, boo. You got John Cena, you got The Rock, The Undertaker. WWE was just throwing everything at the wall, hoping people will stay. And if those people don't stay, I'm gonna. All of us will. All the regular viewers, we're all gonna be there. I'm excited. Next week, we got Damian Priest and Finn Balor in a street fight. It's gonna end that feud. Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyria to claim the crown the very first Women's Intercontinental Champion. You've got Ludwig Kaiser versus Sheamus. Have they ever had a match that didn't have the word banger over it? And then Chad Gable versus somebody. It's going to be Penta. I don't know if 4 matches a week is going to work after this week because they did all the stuff with the big names. So what do you do next week? Triple H said in an interview, we're just going to do what we need to get done. So he said Raw could be anywhere from 40 minutes to 4 hours. So They might just do 4 matches next week, and maybe small segments. Maybe next week's Raw will be 2.5 hours, or maybe it'll be 3 hours. I'm sorry, my daughter has a little tablet over there. Maybe it will be another 3-hour show, but these matches will get longer. Imagine Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser get 20 to 30 minutes. Are you serious? The Street Fight, another Plunder Brawl, 2 weeks in a row. WWE knows what they're doing. And Penta and Chad. I cannot stress enough how that match needs a good 15 to 20 minutes, because there's going to be fans of just WWE, lapsed fans, new fans, all those people that aren't going to know who this guy is and don't have the brain power or the balls, let's be honest, to google.com or youtube.com and figure out who he is. People like me, people like most wrestling fans these days, the strong majority of wrestling fans these days are really smart. They watch everything, they know who everyone is. When Penta debuts, he's going to get a good reaction. And even if he doesn't, he will by the end of the match if he gets plenty of time. You need to give him a chance to really, really shine in WWE. I've seen what he can do. My favorite match of all time, this is where people are going to jump in the comments and yell at me, and maybe I'll do a video on this another time, but my favorite match of all time involves Penta. He's literally in my favorite match ever. I'll heart your reaction, your comment if you know which match it is. I'll guess down in the comments, what's my favorite match of all time? Pentagon Jr. versus... But thank you everybody so much for watching. Like I said, don't expect this to be a regular thing. I'm back at work more regularly, so I don't know if I'm going to have time to watch Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, Collision, TNA, all the pay-per-views, all the PLEs. But when I can, I'll hop on here and give you my little review. If you enjoyed Raw, let me know. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, let me know what you thought of it. And that's it for now. Until my next wrestling video, this is JT Channel. I am JT, and I will see you on the next one.